Hello everyone, welcome to another episode. Well, I just realized that my camera is not focused, which is quite funny. Um, anyway, so my name is Anton Babenka, and while I'm fixing my camera, I can say that I'm extremely thankful to all supporters who support my channel, and well, many of you have been doing this extremely for a long time. And well, let's get started. I don't know how to fix camera anyway. So let's go to this one. Yes, I want to thank pretty much everyone who is supporting me through GitHub sponsors, as well as some other places like Open Collective, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. It all makes a lot of sense. So more people support me, more things I can actually produce, and things which I produce are specifically related to Terraform AWS modules, as well as some serverless TF things. Pre-commit Terraform, you probably are using already, or if not, then well, you should be using it, as well as some other things which are more like educational material, which is a little bit out of date, but still I find it quite helpful. So thanks a lot for this. Also, I want to ask if you guys know about M0, then that's really good, because now M0 has support. Well, not complete support, but they are working on Terraform Provider, which will allow you to manage your configuration, like projects, templates, configuration variables, as well as few other things using Terraform. I know for most of you, well, including myself, it sounds like chicken and egg problem, because you need some place to execute Terraform. So it's a little bit tricky how you can combine such provider with actually CI/CD pipeline, because you don't want to execute it from your machine. But in some cases, you have to do this anyway. So take a look into n0.com if you want to run CI/CD in automation. Then I want to say, this was one of the best pieces of content which I have read probably in a year, or maybe less. Anyway, thanks a lot, Michael Friedrich, who is actually a developer advocate in GitLab. He's based in Austria, I believe, or maybe in Germany. And this is an article which was written by a guy who has been working for Google, Spotify, and a few other big companies, is touching upon very important points which I've been dreaming myself for quite a long time. And what I want to say here is that I agree with this statement pretty much completely. So let me use production-like infrastructure as much as possible through the process of building and testing code. We often have some separation between development environment, where things are constantly developed and constantly up to date, and everything is moving very rapidly there. But then as we go out, we go to, let's say, stage environment, production environment, it always increase chances that there will be some issues discovered later, and it will be already a bit too late. So it's better to have this loop as short as possible. And if you want to read about software infrastructure article, I will post this link into YouTube chat or into description. And I highly recommend to read this, as well as pretty much everything what Charity Majors is writing. Okay, then I want to mention that Javier wrote pretty good article for people who are using Terraform AWS modules, but I often hear a question like, okay, so where should I start? I mean, there are a lot of modules, a lot of code, and he's going through EKS deployment using a bunch of different different tools which we all have and use. So, for example, he's using Terraform 0.15. I think there is pretty big error in the number because 0 and 15 should be swapped. So Terraform 0.15 as well as pre-commit, pre-commit Terraform, Terraform docs, tflint, tfsag, as well as many Terraform AWS modules. So I will post this link as well, and thanks for writing this article, Javier. Okay, let's go to the next one. I want to say that if you guys like Terraform, or if you like different kind of DevOps tools, I want to mention that Michael Levan is publishing, well, how often? Like weekly? Yeah, almost weekly. Different videos about different kind of tools, pretty much similar to what I do here on this stream, but he is more broad. He's talking about variety of tools. So I will again post link into the description to this YouTube video. And I want to announce that next week there will be Scott Winkler, who is an author of Terraform in Action book. Well, this review probably summarizes it all, the best book about Terraform available at the moment. I'm sure that you all know a book written by Evgeny Brickman, which was pretty early on. And this book is rather up-to-date version, and it has slightly different point of view, slightly different chapters. I'm not sure that it can replace the book by Evgeny Brickman, but it can definitely add a lot of information so that you can actually know much more about Terraform. So again, we will talk to Scott next week, and there will be some raffle, and we will talk about some other projects, not necessarily about book, but he is writing a lot of interesting projects. Some of his projects I've been covering before on different occasions, like shell provider, for example, and well, and maybe something else, I don't remember. So yeah, stay tuned, we'll talk about this next week. Okay, yeah, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to kind of to talk to everyone. Well, I have no clue, my face is so huge right now on the camera, honestly. Hello Artur, hello Alexander. Maybe I can zoom myself like this. No, it looks bad. Interesting. Is it like this? Is it better now? Yeah, okay, that's how it is. Right, okay, so it's called manual focus. Okay, let's move on to the other sections, and the other section for today. So earlier this week, or actually last week, I asked on LinkedIn and on Twitter what kind of content do people want to see, and it was extremely exciting for me to receive so many votes on different type of things. So for this episode, I decided to focus on two things which are related to. First thing is related to the command Terraform test, because now we have Terraform 0.15, and I thought it's a good idea to take a look into Terraform test and see how we can use it, because, well, I actually want to use it for real, to be able to improve quality of Terraform AWS modules and reduce amount of manual friction which we have to do there. So I thought, like, okay, maybe it's a good idea, and we'll talk about this. Another thing which I also got a lot of votes was about different tips and hacks related to Terraform usage. There are so many of them which are like hacks, tips, and maybe just proper usage of Terraform, or like bad usage of Terraform. So I decided to not filter them by saying like, oh, this is good practice or this is bad practice. I leave it to you guys. I mean, you can decide if it's good, if it's bad, and you can just think about this and implement it, and then you can say like, yes, it works for you, or it doesn't work. So today I will cover two things. Well, not two, no, it's enough with just one. It will be related to well, where do I have code? Okay, I can just say how it's related. When you have a lot of a module block in one Terraform configuration folder, right? So you have a root module where you invoke a lot of Terraform modules. And if you do this in CI/CD process, then you have to clone a lot of repositories, and this can take a lot of time. If you use monorepo for all of your Terraform modules, you will receive a large amount of similar modules. And I will show some ways how this can be improved so that you have to clone just once. There are a few strategies, and I will show one which is the most recent one, which I think is pretty cool. And well, I know some people are using it when I showed this to them, so it's good. And what else? Yeah, okay, so this is about hacks, tests, and then also some people reach out to me and say that, hey, we have some question regarding the content of the stream, so they'd like to join some sort of Zoom or some other Clubhouse platform where we talk about content of the stream, and maybe we have some interactive discussion there. So in 47 minutes, I have scheduled a call on Zoom. A link is already in the description on YouTube video, so feel free to go there and well, you can just join that call, and we will talk about any subject which you guys want. Not necessarily related to the content of this stream, but you can ask any questions. I think it will be quite interesting. And as usual, feel free to tell me if you think that some content is good or bad. It helps me to identify what is the most interesting things. I cannot guarantee that I will cover all of this just because you guys requested, but if there will be certain requests for something very frequently, then of course I will do my best to cover that as well. So on this note, let's go deeper into the first section, which is Terraform test. Okay, so February, yeah, no, not this one, this one. It was episode 24 when I talked about writing tests for Terraform modules in HCL, and I was using Terraform 0.15 alpha something, and I was looking into how this can be done back then. And I have to admit that I was a little bit too optimistic when I was preparing for this episode right now, because I thought like, okay, if it was so straightforward back then in February, which was 2 months ago, well, exactly 2 months ago, then I thought like, yeah, things probably improved and it will be no rocket science. So I decided to give it a shot yesterday. And while I was preparing for this stream, I stumbled upon a lot of different issues and limitations, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of things to figure out. So I did my best to make some sort of proof of concept. It's not production ready yet because it's a very experimental feature, and I think it really is. So let's go to the code and let's see what I actually did. So I was looking into writing test for Terraform AWS S3 bucket module. This module is pretty straightforward. The only thing which it does actually create an S3 bucket resource, and that's pretty much it. So S3 bucket resource is the main thing, and then it attach, let's see somewhere, different type of policy documents based on what you want. For example, you can attach ALB log policy to be able to have logs from load balancer, or you can deny insecure transfer protocol if you want to do this, or you can block public access in different ways. So pretty much everything what you normally need to do when you create bucket. There is also a folder inside of the module which is called complete, where we have code which creates a bunch of different resources, and then it invoke this module to create different bucket, like bucket for logs, bucket for CloudFront, and a few other things. So pretty straightforward way, pretty traditional set of things which we normally have in modules. Absolutely no rocket science. So I deliberately picked out, I focus on just this example and this module because it has very little dependencies, and I thought like, wow, it should be just straightforward. So let me show what exactly I was doing. Let me know if the font size is big or small. I can adjust it, well, a little bit. I hope my face is not in the most important part of the screen. So the content of the file is not very interesting here. On the right side I have terminal where I will put some commands, so my name is not, or my face is not in the way. So let's look into the way how tests can be written. So the requirement is to have folder called tests, and then inside of folders test we have folder which is like, in my experience, it will be very helpful to have one-to-one match. So you have example and you have test. Though you will see that I'm doing a lot of repetitive things which I don't want to do. So let's look into the file. The file name should be prefixed with test underscore something. Then the content of this file, as you can see, is just invoking module on the root side. So pretty much this code here is very similar to the one which you can see somewhere here. I do pretty much the same. I'm calling module in the root directory, I'm passing a couple arguments to it, and that's it. I don't do anything else. So here, that's what I wrote here. I thought, well, what can possibly go wrong? So let me go to this module. I have to be in the root directory, and then I run command Terraform, well, not init, but Terraform test. So what Terraform test is going to do is actually, well, now you will not see a lot, right? You will see just, hey, something was broken, and that's it. Yeah, that's because I just rotated my credentials, and that's why the previous one doesn't work. By the way how I rotate credential is the following. I run AWS Vault rotate, and then I provide my AWS Vault name, which is this one, Anton Demo Static, and then it asks me for my MFA token a couple times, and that's it. I don't go to console or do anything else. So this way I can rotate them pretty much every week if I want. So let's see what I can do. I can go here, I can ask a new one. Usually it's a bad idea to do such important things before the stream, like rotation, but I decided what can possibly go wrong, so let's see, S3 bucket. Okay, I'm here again, and I want to run Terraform test. So hopefully we will see something. But I can tell you in advance that it's a bad idea to run just Terraform test without enabled login. So probably I will stop this immediately. The reason why I'm stopping, or I'm gonna to stop it now, is that there is going on something, but you have no clue what is going on. So let's see. Actually, in this case, it stopped, and it says failed to clean up after tests. I have no clue why it failed. As you can see, this test is very straightforward. It cannot delete it. I don't know why. If I would go to this example folder, into test, complete, and then execute commands like Terraform init Terraform apply and then Terraform destroy, everything would work without any problems. This bucket would be deleted absolutely fine. There are no issues with that. So this is definitely a bug. But let me show a more critical bug, which I couldn't figure out why it is actually happening. So let's see. Yeah, I think I can just simply uncomment this line, because in real tests that's exactly what we do. So what we want to do is that we want to create a random bucket, right? We want to create the not specific bucket because it will work only once, and then this bucket is created. It's not gonna to be possible to create one more time. So what I do here is that I append a random path name to the bucket name, and again I can run Terraform test, but for this time I will actually export some logs, because why not? Terraform 0.15 has two types of logs, so TF log provider and TF log core. Core is not very much relevant, but we can still enable it here. Well, actually, I think it is helpful. So now if I run this Terraform test, of course, we will see a lot of output, very traditional output, no issues, nothing to pay attention there, until we see an error. Let's see, it shouldn't be very slow. Just 1 second. And okay, now the error is different. So the error here again says error deleting S3 bucket, conflicting conditional operation. I have no clue what it means. Bucket should be possible to delete. That's it. So I cannot actually do it for real for resource which is not extremely plain. So as you can see, S3 bucket has some policies, some other resources related to it inside of module. That's pretty much the whole point of module, right? So I couldn't reproduce it now, but I can show what was the error message which I got when I executed it yesterday, and I couldn't figure out how this code was actually breaking things. So if you look into these changes here, you can see that this is exactly the same code as I showed earlier. The only thing here is that I do, well, yeah, I specify a couple arguments here, but again, that's the whole point of test. So then the error message was like this. It was starting to apply to create this bucket policy, and then it just freeze with wait for state exceed refresh grace period. Well, I have no clue what it means, and that's it. So there were no panic errors, no crash, nothing like that. It simply froze infinitely. So I used to kill this process and restart again. I will open an issue in Terraform 0.15 repository, but for now I cannot do anything real. And the whole point of this thing was to make it as real as possible, because I want to apply it for Terraform AWS modules. Okay, so this was first thing which was not very straightforward. So then I thought like, okay, let's go to extremely simple example, which is in this case IAM. Okay, inside of IAM, it's similar story. We have examples, we have bunch of examples for each of the modules. So modules match examples most of the time. Code there is again very similar. As you can see, we are calling some module, referencing it locally. We pass in some arguments because we want to create Vasya Pupkin 4, and then that's exactly the same code written inside of test folder. So I thought like, okay, that's again should be working out of the box. There shouldn't be any issues. And believe me or not, but I was actually right. It worked. So if I go to this folder and if I run Terraform test command now, it goes to test folder, apply this infrastructure, so Vasya Pupkin 4 is created, and then it executes a couple of resource assertions. So this resource assertion is the whole point of test, right? So we want to make sure that the username, which is an output of this module, match the one which we provided. So Vasya Pupkin here and Vasya Pupkin here is the same guy. We also want to make sure that access key ID was not created because we have disabled it here. We said false. It means that we expect to have empty value here. And as you can see, there were no issues in this case. It was quite fast, and honestly, I don't know what can be the problem or why it didn't work with S3 bucket, why it works here. So that's why we can simply remove some of the login level because it's just kind of irrelevant. And we also don't want to see this boring message, which is not actually boring, but for some, log provider error. Okay, yeah, it probably has to be some other level. So this message says, we'd like to invite adventurous module authors. Well, that's that's me. I'm here, but it just doesn't work. So anyway, I'll continue with this later on. No provider config schema available for provider. Well, maybe I don't need to specify this one, but I took this from documentation. So anyway, let's go back to the point of Terraform module testing. And actually what I want to see if it makes sense to be done at all. So we have created test and complete. Well, what we had previously, we had examples. These examples are exactly what we want to do. So instead of writing something like test and then copy pasting this module invocation block from examples and then maintain it in two places, all I want to do is just to be able to point my or to add my test assertion, let's say this test assertion, into IAM test example folder. So the way I'm thinking is that I simply want to add, well, that was a little bit too much. So I want to add these test assertions into the examples folder. And also I want to kind of make sure that these test assertions are only invoked when user called Terraform test. I don't really see the whole lot of value inside of having separate folder test where information is just copied literally one-to-one, and you will have to maintain it in two places. So this is one of thing which is a little bit kind of frustrating right now. But anyway, this is a minor thing which is not very much blocking me. Instead, what is blocking me most of the time is to actually understand the value which I can get from this command. So Terraform test allow me to literally execute what we have here. Like inside of modules, we have readme md inside of example, where we describe that to run this example, you need to execute init plan apply. Well, that's pretty much similar to what Terraform test does, right? Terraform test will do similar thing. It will do, let me just put the thing which Terraform test command will do. Test. It will also do init, and then it will apply, and then it will validate. Well, actually it will do validate before, and then it will destroy. So what's the difference between this command and this command? Pretty much no difference, because validate we can also, I mean, we can put it here if we want, right? That's not the point. So I mean, we already have content for test files inside of examples. Only thing which we are missing is a place where we have to put some assertion. That's pretty much it. End of story. Go to the next topic. Once more, I don't think there is much point to talk about this right now, because it just simply doesn't work for a real case like S3 bucket module. And thing which I want to test in S3 bucket module is that if I make S3 bucket which I configured for, let's say, for ALB logs, for example. So what I want to verify is that my bucket policy contains statement which allows ALB log delivery, something like that. So yeah, this is probably for another time. Does anyone have any questions or any feedback on this, or any, even many people may think that this is great the way it is, or maybe you are missing what are we doing here. So feel free to leave a comment and ask a question. Okay, while you're thinking about questions, let me think about something else. So talking about test, I think that's it. Overall, I spent a large amount of time thinking about how to make it for real with S3 bucket module. Couldn't make it to work. Then I gave up, and then I switched to something else. And something else what I want to share with you guys is Git hack related to modules. We have something like half hour, and I think it will take it will take its time. So let me switch the folder here. It's going to be inside of tfdos git hack. I will remove this folder just because we don't need it right now. So as some people say, cut the scene. So hello Nikolai. It seems to me, oh yeah, I can put it on the screen as well, right? It seems to me that they create something like TerraTest but without Go code writing. That's the whole point. I thought so too, because for last several years, that's exactly the point which I wanted to have. I want to continue write HCL, and the only thing which I was missing is assertion. Put assertion somewhere, and that's it. So TerraTest without writing Go, that's exactly the point which I think they made. But again, the command is experimental. You have to use it very carefully and all these kind of things. Well, it doesn't stop me from trying to do this on modules, for example. But I still cannot see how I can apply this for something real, like my real infrastructure, because I still need to be able to log into an instance or trigger some API call or retry something or wait for something. So that's exactly where TerraTest is good, because you have full programming language where you utilize all of these capabilities. But in modules, we only need assertion that we pass 10 arguments, we created 10 resources. That's it. Okay, another question. Have you ever written some auto generator for generate some kind of custom TF modules, like auto generator for generate many S3 buckets which are the same but in general configured in different ways? Oh yeah, I did it. Well, actually I made I think one of my first video was in about 2017, where I talked about this approach where I generate Terraform module from various inputs. I don't remember exactly what kind of input was there, but it can be some sort of YAML file. Yeah, so before Terraform 0.12, this was common practice, and we used to do this using JSONNet or Jinja or cookie cutter. I still use pretty much all of these approaches in different projects because it's just much more convenient. But yeah, you can use this, but you don't have to. You have Terraform 0.13 where you can do all of this auto generation yourself, and it will be just fine, and there is no need to do this kind of meta programming. Let me show you guys one thing which I think can be interesting in this regards as well. This provider, well, I forgot to put star here. This is a Terraform provider which Martin has created. Well, it has pretty long documentation. I didn't read it all, but what I just want to highlight is that passing values to bash is something similar to what you just mentioned, Alex. You have one type of structure in one place, like in Terraform you have string, number, list, or maps, or set, or objects, or complex type of list of maps, and so on. And you want to pass these values into bash. The way how you can do this is that, of course, you have to assume how things can be interpreted. But what if somebody pass any type? It's not gonna to convert it automatically. Anyway, the point is that you can use this provider to have some sort of helper. Well, it's very good timing. There is big machine washing the road right next to my house. Okay, I hope that it will not interrupt us. So take a look into this bash provider. It has some, probably it has some over-engineered concepts. At least I'm thinking about it that it's a little bit too much, but maybe it can give you some ideas how auto generation can happen in terms of data types difference between different platforms. But in your case, if you need to have to generate a bunch of code, Terraform 0.13 has pretty much everything what you need, and I don't think you need to make it more complicated. Okay, let's go back to the code, and let's focus on this one. Right. Let's see where is it. Okay, so let me go to where was it? cd tf those git hack. Right. Okay, so everything is inside of this folder. So let me ask a few questions. I mean, I will ask questions and you can answer honestly to yourself, and then see if you answer it correctly or not. So if I run Terraform init for this type of code, there will be folder created .terraform with some sort of content, right? You can see that I'm using one source as a registry and another one as a Git repository. So it says downloading these two things, putting them into two locations. So there is folder called 1 and 2. If we look into 1, well, I can probably make it a little bit bigger, just because now this is suddenly the most important part. So if you look into 1, and then if you look into 2, you will see that there are same files or same content, right? Because it's the same module essentially. And then you think like, okay, now I want to make another bucket, and it's going to be using the same module here and the same module here. The only difference is bucket name, bucket 2 and bucket 3. So you run Terraform again. Terraform init will now create the bucket, and there will be bucket called, directory called 3, and you see it has the same content. So far so good, no problems, right? And then you have your CI system where you don't have .terraform folder cache. So let's pretend that you don't have Terraform folder in there. So your CI job now run Terraform init, because there is no .terraform folder. It goes online, download a bunch of things, and it creates a bunch of directories inside of module. So the same 1, the same 3, and the same 2. And now the question is this the same thing or is it different? So when we were adding one module after another, we were telling Terraform that, hey, just download this small difference and it will be fine. When we are referencing to the same module multiple times at once, then we have surprise. And surprise is related to the way how hidden files are treated. As you can see, in folder 3, there are in folder 2, there are no files inside of no hidden files. Why this is happening this way? Well, I don't have too much kind of insight because I was lazy to do this one more time. I did this before, but not this time. If you look into the sequence of how this was executed, so Terraform got first one, put this into one. That's perfectly fine. That's correct content with hidden files. Then it looked, okay, now it's time to download something into the folder called 3, and it downloaded for the first time. And then Terraform see like, oh, okay, I have to download this stuff one more time. Let me just copy these files. And then it copied from here into here. That's my main explanation in this point. That's why when we copy these files, we lost pretty much everything what is hidden, right? In this case, these hidden files are not of a big deal, but there are some situations where you actually rely on these hidden files. For example, this can be sensitive config values which were propagated by some other system, or if you have some other pipeline, you may have different tools which rely on these config files. They are not used by Terraform as such, but as you can see, this module and this module look identical, but their module source is different. Okay, I know that it's maybe not very much relevant and you will never use it because, well, that's not the whole point of Terraform. Again, never look into .terraform folder and try to figure out what's going on there. In most cases, you will be better to just delete this folder, run it again, and everything will be fine. So let's continue this thing here. So four, I don't need 4. Yeah, okay, I don't need 4. So next thing is if we are referencing to a submodule. So we have git URL here, and then we are extracting folder inside of modules object. So the question to you guys, if I run Terraform init now, what will be inside of folder 3 objects? Let's see. So if we look into modules 3 object, we see the same content one more time because this is what was downloaded, and this is going to be used by Terraform to actually operate. So if you look into modules JSON, you will see how it's actually pointing. You can see that it's using this folder inside of that module. Yeah, exactly. Everything from a repo is extracted. Then you can think like, okay, now I have the problem. I have one big repository where I have a lot of modules, and I'm talking about a real case now. So you have one big monorepo with a lot of Terraform modules which you share across many different projects because that's the way how you want to succeed, and you don't want everyone to come up with their own version of module. So what they have to do is that you have, let's say, your main repository, which is typically called Terraform modules inside of your GitHub organization, and everyone is using, let's say, pointing to this repository and then using specific submodule to do specific things the way they want. This is very common practice, and a lot of companies are doing this quite successfully. For the beginning, it will be fine. You have no issues because, well, 2-3 things will be downloaded every time. There will be challenge when you have a lot of projects, a lot of environments, and you will want to execute, let's say, Terraform validate across all of these modules at once. So what can we do about this? Now, if I run Terraform init, I simply download a lot of copies. So now I have 1, 3 objects, and 2 are almost identical, right? That's whole repository. And if you have large infrastructure module repository, you will have a lot of things downloaded, and a very small fraction of it will be used. Previously, for last several years, I think after I visited a conference in Singapore and I talked to Vincent, I learned about a project which is called MBT, which is pretty great project. MBT, this one. So this project is pretty good. It allows you to build. So you have one big monorepo, and you are building small versioned artifact for your modules as soon as there are changes. So I was recommending this approach to many of people, and I was quite happy with it myself. But just recently I thought like, okay, there should be a better way. So finally we have 13 minutes and I will show you the better way. Let's see, what does better way mean? Let me first comment out some sections which are not relevant, and I will just explain it one more time. So if I delete this Terraform folder just for the simplicity. So now, as I said, if I run Terraform init, I will get this source code. That's pretty obvious, right? What if I want to clone? Let's say instead of S3 bucket module, of course there can be. We can put it like this. Let me just. So for this, I can put like my org and then Terraform modules. So this is a typical name of. Oh yeah, thanks a lot for pointing. Right. So this is typical name of repository which you are referencing, because you have one Terraform modules organization or repository, and then you will point to modules/S3 bucket, for example, here, or to some other things like Lambda or whatever else you have, as long as it's the same Terraform modules. So here is a trick which you can do. Okay, so the first thing which you need to do is that you need to clone. Let me run this command. Hopefully it will work. It's a little bit tricky to show on this screen, but I can explain what's going on. So I explain it like this. So you need to clone your Terraform modules from your organization. In this case, I pretend that Terraform AWS modules /Terraform AWS SQS is my Terraform modules. So it's a big thing which contains a lot of things. And I clone it locally. So I do this once. Already exists. Well, of course it exists. Let me delete it. I cloned it earlier. So let me do it like this. Okay, I clone it one more time. Okay. So what I did, I just cloned my infrastructure module repository locally. I do this once. So then what I have to do is that I have to instruct my Git to actually to think about this like this. When there are references to this Git repository, let Git to use a local copy of or local clone of this repository. That's it. When we run this command, and again, it's very important that fingers crossed mode is enabled. So what we do now is that we want to run Terraform init, we run it, and as you can see, it was a little bit too fast, right? Because what has happened is that if we look into folder.terraform now, modules, we will see that these files are different. Well, I can prove that they're different because now we are taking care of SQSQ. So instead of going to this real URL, we told Git to use our local fork of it, or local, not fork, local clone of our Terraform modules repository. And this command can be executed once before we do anything in CI/CD pipeline. This way, if I now uncomment this kind of thing, maybe even this, well, this doesn't work because there are no modules object inside of SQS, so this will not work. But if I now uncomment 2 and 3 and run it init again, you will see that it's extremely fast because it's just copying files from my local to this 3. So this overall improves performance of your CI/CD steps dramatically. You don't have to go to internet to download everything and then use small fraction of it. You will have to do one thing, is that you only clone your infrastructure module repository once at the very beginning, and then change config to use another location instead of your SSH location. Now let me explain where the trickiest part here is. Well, there are so many tricky parts that it take a lot of time to make it right. So I will try to explain them one by one, and hopefully it will help you guys. So first, git-clone is not very tricky. So you normally git-clone one repository into another folder. So folder name here does not really matter. You can put it into any location. What is important here inside of this git-config command, first of all, if you put git-config global, it means that it will be used for all repositories like ever. It's pretty good idea if you do this on CI, for example. You can always remove it if you don't need it. Then look into these commands here. So this path has to be like the first one. This path has to be absolute, and it has to end on /. Then another thing, which I don't know if you guys see it so well, but well, I can maybe move it a little bit here, and here is the same command, so I will just explain it here instead. I will explain instead of here. Okay, so instead of here, then space, and then we have to use SSH prefix here. So if we simply put it without it, it's not going to work. How you can learn about it, I have no clue, but you will have to do this. I mean, if I wouldn't tell you, you probably would have to write this many times before you figure out how things work. And then you put, well, URL the same here, with only difference is that here you reference it to column, and here you should be referencing using /. That's it. Like honestly, between you and me, this specific thing took me about a couple hours yesterday to figure out why my tests were not working when I was preparing for this. And then I figured out that, oh, that's what I forgot. So I copied from wrong place all the time. But it's now fixed. So here we can see that we will use this location instead of Terraform modules which we have in our organization. And that's pretty much it. There is no rocket science other than this. So yeah, that's folder 2 and 3. If we now delete this folder, well, we can delete the whole dot Terraform folder. And if we run Terraform init now, what? Yeah, I have to comment this one. If we run Terraform init now, we have this .terraform folder created one more time. And what is And S3 bucket. Yeah, right. So we have the same content, right? We have SQSQ and SQSQ everywhere. But the problem with hidden files being disappeared is not fixed by this. So this is the way how Terraform handle clones of multiple identical locations. It's not a big problem in most of the cases, but sometimes you have to be aware that there are no hidden files if you rely on them. So if you use the approach of local using another URL instead of your main one, you need to be careful, because now this information is stored inside of git config, and you just need to remove it from here, or you can run different commands from CLI as well to remove this URL reference, like I do now. So if I don't have this now, and if I run Terraform init one more time, then it actually takes some time to download the real file, and now I can see that inside of my folders 2 and 3 there are S3 bucket modules being downloaded. So I have disabled this local git override. Okay, I think on this note we can wrap up for today. I'm not sure how useful the part about testing was, but I hope that part about git override was helpful, and now you will be able to run Terraform validate much faster. And well, I just hope that it helped you to to not wait for half hour every time when something happens. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I have just left comment inside of YouTube. The comment is linked to Zoom call, where I will see everyone in a second. So feel free to join there, and thanks everyone for attending. Feel free to share this as well, subscribe, and do whatever you want. See you soon.